Hello, I'm gonna talk about the color revolutions and other revolutions in the world. And first subject is the color revolutions, which is partly occurred in the Eastern Europe and one of the Latin American countries and Asia. We can say that these revolutions mostly occurred in after 1990s, the disappearance of the Soviet Union, and after the disappearance of the Soviet Union, there are small states that established, mostly in the Eurasia, I say, and these states governed by the autocrats. They called themselves the pro-Americans and democratic regimes, but it's in the paper. We can say that it's the imitation democracies. They are acting like a autocratic authoritarian regimes, but in paper they are democracies. They are ruled by democracies. When we look at the Serbian case, we have seen that there are young movements, which we called it Otpor. The university students started this revolution, and these revolutions is non-violent revolutions, and it's different than especially for the Latin American revolutions. And another differences is the US intervention. US supported these revolutions because of the authoritarian regimes process and policy against US and the Western countries. That's why these regimes should be toppled down, and the new regimes, which is has to be democratic regimes, started immediately. And Otpo, and after that, in Georgia, Rose Revolution, and in 2004 Ukraine, the Orange Revolution, and then 2005 in the Tulip Revolutions occurred, mostly the US and Western support. When we look at the Latin American revolutions, it's a bit different than the color revolutions, because in Latin America we can say it's a poor, it's established by the poor states, and they didn't support any country, and their leaders looks like a democratic, but there are a bit inequality in states. That's why it's occurred by there are many differences between the people. In Venezuela, as I said, the poverty rate is very huge, but after Hugo Chavez and his Bavarian republic, it changed. This public spending started to increase, and people become getting more good situation, and extreme poverty started to decrease, and as well the poverty. Yes, and how can he do this? He did this because of the oil revenues. And 2000, starting with 2000, the oil price is increasing, and he used this perfectly well, and managed to managed to increase public spendings and capitalist structure. As you can see in the graph, the education level started to increase, especially for the secondary and pre-primary education level. As a result, for the Venezuelan case, we can say that it's partly successful, but it failed after 2008 because of the oil prices decrease, and Venezuelan economy totally depended on oil prices. That's why they couldn't afford to manage the social spending cost and the capitalist structures. That's why in the end they failed. Thank you so much for listening to me.